Hello everyone, in this video we'll be looking at the upcoming update for Windward and review its upcoming features and new gameplay. For this video I'll be using the open world system presentation, which is linked below if you want to have a look yourself. The first thing we'll be looking at is a new world map, which consists of 8 regions, has 34 ports and 10 independent forts spread around it. Each region is its own server, which you can access via the main menu or by sailing from one region to the other via the teleport zones. Using the teleport zone is really easy. You teleport to a bordering region via sailing into the teleport zone and clicking the keybind on your helm. A few things will not be saved though. These things include hammer hit progress on leaking holes and broken rudders, barrel fires. This means the barrel will reset as if it has just been hit. Deployed robots will also not teleport with you, and a few less important things that you can see on screen right now. Also, a ship with a crew of more than 50 players cannot teleport. You also need to have the lieutenant role or higher, so you gotta be the captain of the ship, to initiate the teleport via the helm. Every port in the game has a port size, which determines what type of infrastructure can be built at the port and what max level it can be upgraded to. I'll talk more about infrastructure later though. Every port has a set amount of money it will produce to the nation that owns the fort. For example, the United Kingdom owns a port with an income of 5,000. This means that every day the faction will receive 5,000 currency. Every nation starts out with one port. They will then have to siege neutral ports, which are ports that are already owned by a nation, to gain more ports, and thus more income. We will talk more about sieges and its quirks soon though. Port upgrades, or infrastructure upgrades, are essential to growing your port's capabilities. I'll briefly sum up the different type of port upgrades and what they all do. The workforce. Actions like upgrading your infrastructure, building ships, and much more take workforce. Upgrading the workforce allows you to do more things at the port at the same time, seeing as you have more workforce to spread around. Garrison. Upgrading the garrison gives the defensive team more lives in a port siege, and is therefore very important to any nation that is scared that their port is under threat of a siege. Resources. Every port produces a different resource. For example, this port produces tea. Upgrading the tea import building will give the nation that owns the port more of that resource per day. Shipyards. Shipyards are one of the most important structures a port can have. Shipyards allow you to build ships and store them too. How higher the shipyard is upgraded, how high a class ship it can build, and how more ships it can store. The armory. The armory allows a port to produce special weaponry such as grenades, field cannons, and ammo wagons. Upgrading this facility will increase the production speed and how much it produces. Stables. Stables allow a port to produce horses. Upgrading this facility will increase the production speed and its yields. Upgrading infrastructure is expensive. As you can see, to upgrade this lumberyard from tier 3, tier 4, it cost us 154 lumber, 91 stone, 128 iron, 187 fruit, 121 metal, and 135 tea. It would also cost 19,063 pounds and a territorial work order, which I'll get into later. You can now see what port size is required for what max infrastructure level. For example, a port size 1 can only build a workforce 1, garrison 1, cannot build a shipyard, resource 1, and no armory or stables. While a port size 6 can build a workforce 6, garrison 6, shipyard 6, resource 6, armory 2, and stables 2. Work orders. A work order is a must-have item for any officer that wants to upgrade infrastructure or build ships. You can buy a work order, if your rank has the right permissions set by your nation leader, at the infrastructure manager. Work orders take 2 hours to produce and cost £2,500. For each additional work order that you want to produce in the same day, the price will increase by 50%. A port can only produce one work order at a time. Another way for nations to make money is port taxes. There are 2 different types of taxes: export tax and import tax. Export tax is a tax set on cargo that's purchased by players from that port. Import tax applies to cargo that's sold by the player to a port. If the export tax is high, you would buy the cargo for more money. If the import tax is high, it means you would sell your cargo for less. Let's talk about one of the most important aspects of the update: resources. Resources are used for trading, infrastructure, and ship construction. There are 2 types of resources: resources and commodities. Each port is capable of producing 2 resources and 1 commodity. Commodities are mainly used for upgrading port infrastructure, while resources are used for both ship construction and upgrading port infrastructure. Here's a list of different types of resources and commodities. So now that you've seen a list of the different types of resources and commodities, you might be wondering how they are made. Well, in order to produce a resource in a port, you must speak to the resource's respective manager NPC inside of the port. As you can see in the screenshot, it will take 750 men and 1 territorial work order and 2 hours and 37 minutes to produce 72 total lumber. You can also see that 60 will be stored in the warehouse and 12 will be put on the public market for players to buy. So now you have resources, work orders and ship infrastructure. So how do we use the shipyard? If you would like to build a ship, you would have to go to Joe the boat guy, which used to be the uniform guy. Click on him, go to the shipyard and select what ship you want. And then, for example, this Ontario, you would need 127 lumber, 28 iron, 29 fiber, 18 stone, 12 coal, 17 copper, 219 men, and 1 territorial work order. Also, you need 8,458 pounds, and that would take 6 hours and 23 minutes to be built. Personal ships. Personal ships are, well, personal. You have to buy them with money, and cannot build them like nations can. They also take your money to repair and restock instead of the nations. You are also limited in what ships you can purchase. You can, for example, not buy a ship of the line like a Victory. You are limited mainly to cutters, sloop, and other similar classes of that size. You might be thinking to yourself, well, got a ship, and now where and how to get resources, but where do I put it? This is where your ship's cargo hold comes in. Each class of ship has a different tonnage that can be stored inside of the cargo hold. For example, a bigger ship might be able to hold 1,000 tons of goods, while a smaller cutter might only be able to carry 500. For all those pirates and privateers out there that are hunting traders, you might want to try boarding instead of firing your cannons wildly. A ship sinking will result in most of its cargo going down with it. Boarding preserves 100% of the cargo, which means you will have a bigger payout. I will not be looking at the best trade routes and how to trade, seeing as I simply don't have that information. There's a few bits and pieces out there, but they're rather complex and this video will take way too long. I will be making a separate video instead. Fort raids. Fort raids are like mini sieges. Independent forts serve as coastal batteries, additional spawn points for nations, and forts are also capable of generating additional territory work orders for their owners. Independent forts aren't quote-unquote attached to a port. Also, fort raids have a 30-minute preparation time between the raid declaration and the beginning of the raid. This means that defenders and attackers have 30 minutes to set up before the raid actually starts. When a fort has been raided successfully or unsuccessfully, there will be a 12 to 24 hour cooldown on it being raided again. After that, you can raid the fort again. And the thing that we all came here for, sieges. Sieges are battles over ports. Unlike the fort raids, they actually have quite a considerable preparation time, 48 hours. So once it's been declared, you have to wait 48 hours before you can actually attack. The amount of lives for the attacker is the amount of lives the crew has. This means, let's say, a ship has 40 respawns, the attackers also have 40 lives. To prevent ships from being spammed for respawns, you need a minimum amount of crew on a ship for the ship to count. The amount of crew that's needed on each ship is from class to class. For the surprise, you will need 7 crew members, which means a surprise with 6 crew members will not count to the siege and will, for example, not add lives to the attackers. The main similarity between fort raids and port sieges is that you have to stand in a capture zone to capture the forts and ports. Forts and ports have different amount of capture zones that you have to capture. This will decide if a siege is won or lost. The warehouse, a place where all the resources and commodities of a port are stored, will be public during the siege. This means players can sack the warehouse and steal everything the port has. This can lead to the defenders winning the port, but having basically no resources left to rebuild. And then the most important thing, the release date. It was supposed to be the 27th of June, but sadly it's been delayed by a week to the 3rd of August. Although, I would love to wait a little week for this. What do you guys think of this upcoming update? Do you guys think it will be good, buggy, shit, beautiful? Let me know in the comments. Have a good day, guys.